Hi guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Hugo, I'm from Portugal, and this is the Xpeng G6 diaries. Today we are going to do a different video than the ones that I am being posting because I decided that it would be good to have a little bit of context on why this channel was created, who am I, and because as this is an owner's diary and even though it is dedicated to the technology, to the Xpeng G6, there is a context behind all these videos that it's my daily life and how I use the car. So it is important that you guys that follow the channel and follow my trips and routes understand why I do this. So I think it would be good to have this video to explain a little bit about me, about the decision of purchasing an electric car and why I decided to get the Xpeng G6 instead of other brands and models. So let's start by the beginning. Who am I? So my name is Hugo, as you already know. I'm Portuguese. I live in Portugal, in the center of Portugal, and I am 47 years old. I'm married. I am a father of 5, even though I have 2 kids from my current marriage, and I have 3 other kids from my previous marriage. And I am saying this because most of my trips and the trips that I make with this car are due to the fact that I'm going to meet my oldest kids, to take them to their activities, to see them and to be with them as they live in a different city where I live. So I usually every single week I do a couple of hundred of kilometers to be with them, and that's why you will see during the live of this channel these same trips that I will make. So in terms of background, I have graduated myself in computer science and management, and then I started my professional career as a software developer and web designer. Then I moved to a multinational. I act as an integrator, mainly in IPTV, multimedia business. And then I moved myself inside that company to the sales and operations department, where I was working with network infrastructure, mainly in mobile. And then after a couple of years in that company, there were some changes inside, some acquisitions, some merge changes occurred in the company, and that led me and my wife to change my professional career totally. So we decided to create our own company, and we are now working as a photographer and retoucher in our own company that is dedicated to pregnancy and newborn photography. So I'm always interested in gadgets, new technology, new software, new infrastructure, innovation, etc. This is why I like this type of content, technology content and innovation. And this is one of the reasons why I decided to create this channel. So what led me to create this channel and do this type of videos? First of all, because I purchased an electric car. I was anticipating that this would change a little bit my knowledge of cars and the way we use cars, because the range, the type, the way that we charge the car, and also because I decided to buy a different brand that we are used to, that was the Xpeng. As I was looking for videos in the internet, searching for information, I saw plenty of information regarding technology, reviews of professional reviews of YouTube channels. But there was not much information on owners, real owners of these cars. There are some, but not many. And on Xpeng, almost nothing. There are 1 or 2 in France, in Australia. It is a car that brings a bunch of technology, a bunch of innovations, several things that are different that we are used to have, at least myself. And as there was no information on that, I was commenting that with my wife, and she said, you like technology, you like to talk about this, so why don't you start a channel talking about your experience with this car? And for me, it was a really nice idea, but in practical terms, I'm not used to be talking to a camera. So I had previous YouTube channels for my work, but I was not showing up. And this is a very strange thing to me still today, after more or less 1 month that I'm doing these videos. I thought, why not? Let's try. I'm 47 years old. I will not bring nothing bad to the world. So it's only my experience, my perspective, my insights. If I can help anyone to decide to move to an EV, or even to decide that electric cars are not their thing. And now let's talk a little bit about why I decided to purchase an electric car. I had plenty of cars, manual geared and automatic gear cars. I had cars that were more on the performance side, and others more in the comfort side. So I had Ford, I had Peugeot, I have Audi, I had BMWs. In the last years, I had Peugeot as my family car. 2008, because as I told you before, I have 5 kids and I was needing a 7-seater, and that was my family car. And during the time that I was still in the company, my previous company, I had the BMW 530. That was my company car. It was my personal car. My wife was driving the Peugeot and I was driving the BMW. My Peugeot was the car for the last 8 years that was for the family. The car was okay, so there was no need to change to any other car. But on the last 2 years, things have changed. Besides, my kids are growing up, so most of the times I'm not using the 7-seater anymore. The car was starting to give me some problems, and it went several times to car repair shops. Also, the car is not as friendly on consumption as it is on paper, because on paper it says that it's a 5 liter, something like that, per 100 kilometers. I never got that consumption on that car, and I was having like 6.57 liters per 100 kilometers with that car. I was using a Peugeot app with all that information coming, and so I am able to get that information for 1 year for the life cycle of the car. Many things on the car that I had, and we decided to change the car because the car was still it has still some value attached to it on the market. We thought that it would be a good time to sell it. We start thinking on EV and ICE, what would be the next car. As also our family conditions had changed, so we now were living in a detached house. We had solar panels, so we are producing electricity. We are using the electricity that we produce. We are still wasting energy, and I was able to retrieve all that information. So the information on the electricity that was consumed in peak hours, off-peak hours, and the electricity that I was wasting from the production. With all that information, with the information of the consumption of the ICE car, with the prices of new cars, ICE cars and EV cars, I had also an Excel with the information of the kilometers that I do, and per year, to compare with the information coming from the Peugeot. So it was very easy to me to make an Excel table with the information on Monday, Tuesday, etc., to understand the normal spent kilometers on holidays, the amount of times that I need to go and do larger trips. So I was able to create an Excel with all that. I reached the conclusion that I do around 30,000 kilometers per year. And with all this information, with the consumption, the maintenance costs, the taxes, everything, I was able to understand how much I would spend with an ICE car, and then I compared with some EVs. So I started the comparison with a Tesla. That was the first one that I considered. So Tesla Model 3 and Tesla Model Y. I decided to compare with those two because there was much information on those. So before even trying the cars, I decided to see if I would benefit for changing to an EV. So the first thing that everybody that is considering changing from an ICE car to an EV car thinks is the range. Not even the costs of it, because everybody knows that the costs of an EV consumption car, it's going to be lower than the than a nice car, especially, and of course I'm considering always when you charge at home. Okay, the topic of range, it's a very important one. Everybody discusses that. Even I think that most owners and reviewers of EV cars are always talking about the range, the range that each car has. Also, the haters or the persons that do not believe in EVs are always talking about the range of the cars. But we cannot compare the range by itself. There is also another difference of people having an EV and people having a nice car. I am not able to have a gas station in my house. I cannot fill with diesel my car every single night. On EV, and considering that you can charge at home, you just arrive at the end of the day, you just plug the car to the wall and you leave it there during the night. Do a simple math. Consider Monday, how many kilometers are you going to do usually? Add 10, 15, 20 kilometers more on top of that, because you may need to do a detour to go to a grocery shop or something like that. Calculate the amount of hours that you can have from Monday to Tuesday the car connected to a wall to be charged. Is it going to be sufficient to charge again with the power available all those kilometers that you did on Monday? Perfect. Do it for Tuesday to Wednesday to Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. And understand if there is a problem charging the car and having the full battery or enough battery to do the day after commutes. As I said before, I had this Excel planned. I had all this information already there, so it was very easy for me to consider the normal battery. So I was considering the battery of a Tesla, then I was considering the battery of a long range, a single range, on the BIDs, on the Xpeng. So I had all this information for each type of car that I was analyzing, the amount of battery, the capacity of the battery, the capacity of the charging station that I had, the wall box. And with this, I was able to understand with 8 hours charging a car, if I was able to have enough battery for the next day. And it's always a yes. At least for me, it's always possible for me to even start the next day with 100% battery state of charge. It's also important to refer that I do also long trips, so around 3 to 4 trips like that. As I live in the center of Portugal, I have 300 kilometers to Porto and I have 300 kilometers to Algarve, and those are more or less the maximum amount of kilometers that I do in one single trip. And I could even do it with one single battery, one single charge. So going out from home at 100%, I would be able to arrive at my final destination, no problem. But I usually already stop, even with my ice car, I stop for 15-20 minutes to have a snack, to have a coffee, to go to the restrooms, whatever. I have small kids, so they are even from the start of the trip asking to stop. So, and you can see my trip that I made also with this car already to Porto. I was testing some navigation and stuff like that, and the planner, etc. But I can say that going out of my house with 100% and going to Algarve, for instance, 300 kilometers, or to Porto, that also 300 kilometers, I can, of course, without any problem, stop for 15-20 minutes to have a snack, go to the restrooms, as I said before, charge during that time. And now getting back to the trip and arriving to my final destination with around 50% of battery. So I don't see any range anxiety coming from these type of trips. Of course, that if you do 1,000 kilometers trip, if you do 2,000, if you go from Portugal to France, or if you do some other type of trips, you need to consider that. You need to consider, of course, that you will have to stop more times. You will spend more time charging the car. So you need to make these calculations and see if this is good for you in your life. As I don't do those, this was not something that was part of my analysis. I do the maximum day-to-day routine is 250 kilometers. The maximum one single way trip is 300 kilometers, And even if I already did one day going to Porto and coming back, for me it was okay to stop 2 times or 3 times to charge the car. So guys, the final point that I would like to talk about in this video is then why the Xpeng G6. We started discussing the type of cars. So you know that there are performance, there are all-wheel drive, there are single range, long range, etc. So many variations. So we started by those points, and for instance, performance, it was not needed for us because we are good enough with the performance that we have with the normal cars. Also, we all-wheel drive, we were not in need of that because we do not live or do any routes that require all-wheel drive car. And then there was the single range and long range, and as we discussed it before, we had this Excel that could give us inputs on the type of range that we would need. And as we talked before, it was enough for me to have a single range, and this way I was able to save around between 5,000 to 8,000 euros, depending on the car brand that I was going to get. So first, in terms of brands, we start looking for the premium ones and the known ones. So starting with, for instance, the Tesla, that it's the most known. And then we looked at the premium ones like BMW, Audi, Volvo, etc. Even we considered Polestar in that because it has a higher price tag. We also saw Peugeot, Citroën, and some other Kia, Hyundai, etc. Brands. So the first analysis was based on YouTube, on the car manufacturer web pages and stuff like that, to see what they had to offer and the price tags of the cars. And so premium ones were discarded immediately because we didn't saw any value on the premium price tag that it's also there. Looking at Kia, Hyundai, etc., there are some good offers there. But in terms of technology and what the state of the software, the performance, range, so everything combined, I was not getting, and the price, of course, so comparing also with the price, I was not getting a good feedback. So for instance, a Peugeot 5008, it's more expensive than the one that I got, the Xpeng G6. So I discarded those also. So I was left with a Polestar, for instance. Let's consider that. It's a very good car. It's a very good option, but it's much more expensive. So I was left with Tesla, BYD, and Xpeng. Those three were the final manufacturers that I had on my comparison table. And then on Tesla, I had two cars. It was the Model 3 Highland and also the Model Y, even considering that the Model Y was going to be, it was already announced that it was going to be replaced by the Juniper version. On BYD, I was considering the Seal and the Sea Lion 7, and on the Xpeng, I started considering the G9, but it was also, the price tag was a little bit higher than I was able to afford, so I was considering only the G6. Started test driving the cars. First was Tesla. It was a nice experience. The first time that I tried a Tesla, it was my first experience with an EV. So as you can imagine, coming from a Peugeot ICE car, going to test Model 3 with all the performance available on that accelerator, it got me in love immediately. But then, as the test drive is very small, I had to schedule a new one. And that second time that I went to test the Tesla, I've ignored that performance, that power, and I only considered the other things. And for me, Tesla, it's very empty. So I understand the minimalistic approach of Tesla. I understand that we do not need as much buttons as we previously considered as necessary, because we can do most of the things by voice commands. And so I understand the idea to have a central screen and almost everything it's done over there or by voice commands. but they took it far away for me, and it's on the next level of minimalistic approach. And I do like to have a dashboard, to have the most important information while driving available in my eyes in front of me. And I do like to have a couple of more buttons. I do enjoy the stalks to make the turn signals, etc. When I did my second test drive to Tesla, the stalks were a big problem for me. The fact that I didn't have the dashboard in front of me and made me look at the screen in the center, I didn't like it. Also, it was a little strange to have, for instance, trying the self-drive on Tesla and looking at the central screen to check anything that it's only available there, and then having an alert on the car saying that I need to look forward. It felt empty. I felt alone in the car. Then I went to BID. And on BID, it was a different approach. So also they didn't let me test drive a lot, so very small time. But I was enjoying a lot the Seal, but then I found the Sea Lion. I look at both softwares and they were different, because the Sea Lion was arriving with the Dynamic 5 or Dialogic 5, something like that. On the Seal, it didn't have that software. I asked if it was going to be updated, and the dealership said that no. So I was a little bit confused on the type of software upgrades that this manufacturer was going to do, because if they are selling a Seal, considering that it's a new car, and with outdated software that is not going to have a bunch of technologies that Xpeng and Tesla, for instance, have. So for me, it's an outdated car. So it was a little strange. The Sea Lion itself, it was better compared with the Tesla Model Y. Also, it was more expensive than the Xpeng. Then I went to Xpeng and I tried this car. So they were very open with me. They let me test drive a little bit more than the normal test drives available. So I was able to test it with my family for more time. So I made almost 1,000 kilometers with the car. And I was able to check everything, so from performance to comfort, from range, everything, charging power, charging speed, everything. And I did enjoy the car. My family loved the car. My kids were in love with the car. They already told me immediately that this was going to be the car, but I am very, very picky on this, and it's a big purchase, so I wanted to test more. So I start looking more deeply on the softwares, because I found bugs. I found some things that I didn't like in the software, but I was then searching for information on updates, etc., and I was realizing that they were doing updates. They were in fact fixing bugs. So it gave me confidence to accept that it was a very new brand in Portugal. The distributor here in Portugal is exactly the same as on BID, so no big topic there. So I was a little bit more convinced on the G6. I still had Tesla Model Y in my Excel sheet and Xpeng G6, and I was waiting because it was already coming out, the new Juniper, just to make sure that I was not going to make any mistakes. So I was expecting that the Juniper was coming with the new improvements of the Model 3, so in terms of noise, in terms of comfort, in terms of quality, but then they made the launch edition. And the launch edition was almost 15,000 euros more expensive than the Xpeng G6, for a bunch of stickers saying it was launch edition, for a bunch of things that were already included on the Xpeng G6 that if I could, I would remove them, because I don't need them. I was looking at that offer from Tesla and I was saying, come on guys, this is not the way to do it. So I understand that you are trying to get the fans only, so everybody that has a Tesla that it's waiting for the Juniper, the new version, they will jump in quickly. But for me, that I was still not convinced to go to a Tesla, launching a car that may be the competitor of the Xpeng G6, with a price tag 15,000 euros more expensive than this one. I had a worst offer from Tesla than from Xpeng for the exchange of my ICE car, my Peugeot. And also Xpeng made me a discount, gave me more money for my Peugeot, and offered me a wall box also included, gave me more warranty. It was a no-brainer. So I decided, I put my order. It was as it was for a standard range. I liked the white car. They had it in stock, so it was a very fast delivery process. I got it. I got the car in 3 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. So in 3 weeks I got the car, and that's it. This is why I have now an Xpeng. It was one of the reasons why I decided to create this channel, because if I did purchase a Tesla, probably I would not create the channel, because there are plenty of channels for Tesla cars. So this is why. So this video is already very long, so thank you very much if you are still here listening to me. As I said before in the beginning of the video, this is a very different video from the ones that I will be publishing here. So guys, again, thank you very much for being here. Thank you for following the channel and giving strength to it. Just leave your like, subscribe, share the video with your friends, and see you guys next time. See you in the next video. Bye bye.